So I saw one of the US laser companies on YouTube create a video that shows what their 20-watt laser could do, fiber laser could do, comparing power versus speed and seeing what color of mark they could make. They also did some stuff with engraving and outlining, but I was kind of curious to see what this Chinese fiber laser could do with the exact same grid showing power against speed. So I took the time to set up this grid, and all it is a grid of 100 boxes, and I just made those by making a single box 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters and going to the modify button and creating an array of that for 10 to the right, 10 up, and space it out every 3 millimeters. And then I just labeled everything and hatched the labels so they'd be darkened. And then I started going through every single one of these pens, because this is going to be the speed, the power, and the frequency of each mark you make. So for example, this first box here is supposed to be 10% power and 100 millimeters per second speed. So I would want to use a pen that has those parameters. I've set pen number 1, which happens to be the blue color, to 100 millimeters per second and 10% power. Now this one's set to 20 kilohertz. I think for this I'm going to use 25 for every single pen. Let's just see if, yeah, that was the only one I missed. So I just went through every single pen and made a row for every one. So you can see the first 10 get colors, and I went to the top just to test it to make sure I was on the right track. So a couple of these up here have colors, but for the most part they're all going to be black because I didn't assign colors to any of the pens. Let's see, I don't know, 21 through whatever. And I think you can assign colors. So if you just assigned a color based on this to some lettering, I believe it would pull up those pen parameters for that. If you didn't do it that way, I left a few blank up here just so you can see how I'm doing it. So I've already set up all of these pens. This is going to be pen number 96. So all I'm going to do is go up to the top ribbon here, click on the hatch button, and I left all of these the same for every single box that we're marking. So I just enable the hatch, enable it to mark the contour, marking inside the line, and this is going to be pen number 96. Just say OK, and it turns black because that's the color of the pen. Now there are no actual colors here, this is just a Q-switch laser, so they can't mark in color, but this is just a reference for the screen. So I'm going to do the same thing with these last couple boxes. This is going to be pen number 97, pen number 98, and 100. Okay, so that should be all of the pens. So if I haven't made a mistake in any of these settings, this should be 100 and 1000 millimeters per second. This should be 10% power at 1000 millimeters per second. Every single one of these should be, except for the default pen. Now the default pen is going to be what is used for these labels, and that's going to be 20 kilohertz, I guess 50% power and 500 millimeters per second. Every other one of these right now is set to 25 kilohertz, and it's set to the respective power and frequency and speed. So this is just a scrap piece of aluminum I have set up here. Nothing special, saw cut sides. I think it's 6061. Let's light this up. I'm going to use the mark select and just highlight the entire object, all of the objects. Click the light button and we can kind of see how it's going to lay out. Looks like all of that's going to be on the metal. I've already set the height, it's about 16 millimeters tall. So let's go and see what it does. definitely darker the slower it goes. Kind of a dark charcoal gray. Not that dark on the top right there, is it? So it's seems to be more about the speed than it is about the power. Significant drop off after about, what, 400 millimeters per second? So I want to try the exact same test, but this time on a piece of machined aluminum. So this is a pretty good hunk of aluminum that I was using as just a test plate to make a Pearson pallet. And it's just been cut with a fly cutter across the top, and I think I can fit this grid in that area. Come down a little bit. Not quite. Pretty close. One more. That looks reasonable. The power words may be over the edge, but I just want to see if it marks any different than the raw 6061 stock. Neither of these are anodized. So let's do exact same settings, still going to be 25 kilohertz, all of the same power settings, and let's see what it does. I did adjust the height. This is going to be 37 millimeters thick. So let's give it a shot. Okay, let's take a look. So here's the original that we did on the raw stock, and this is the machine. It's certainly a lot easier to see, especially the speed and power and the numbers, but other than that, pretty darn similar. The low power settings just kind of don't do too much, do they? Sort of shine it up on the raw stock. One interesting thing to know about EZCAD is that all of your pen parameters are going to stay with the file. As soon as I open a new file, you can see that if I click on pen 1, it's right back to the default parameters. I guess you could save a file with all of the pens that you want and make that your starting point if you wanted to sort of keep a default template of pens. Well, if that raises any questions or if you have any comments, let me know.